What is going on, everybody? Nasdorachi coming back at you again today with another episode for Dragon Ball Legends, and we will be doing two things today. We'll be looking at the VJump scans that came out yesterday, about 24 hours ago. The reason I didn't cover them sooner was they came out kind of how they normally do, which is extremely low quality at first with no information, which is when I first saw them, and then progressively throughout the day we got some more accurate translations and we got higher quality images. So sometimes being a little bit patient pays off some, but for those that are trying to get the information as fast as it comes out, I probably missed that mark. Regardless, y'all probably have seen them already, and if not, I'll be showing them off and talking about them a little bit, running through the three new characters. After that, we're going to do a meta snapshot, which is kind of like a PvP tier list, if you will, but I use the word tier list very lightly because unlike a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ or Tekken or Mortal Kombat, where things are pretty static and consistent, in this game things literally change every week now. We had a new banner that comes out, or a character getting Zenkai, or multiple characters getting Zenkai, or multiple banners coming out. It really doesn't matter. The game changes so often that the word tier list is pretty much dead to me for this game, because we can classify some things, and then like I said, by this time next week, something new will come out and mix up half the list. But we are going to go over a meta snapshot and see post Go 10 and Trunks releasing how things kind of stack up, and things that you could prioritize right now in the game just based off of what we're seeing amongst a lot of the top players. So we won't waste any more time. Let's bring up some of the image here. Actually, there's two of them. We'll have the description and then the VJump scan itself, although that's page 2. What we want is page 1 and the top half of the page, because the bottom half is Dokkan. So of course, I did report on this already because we got the text leak, but it is the Trio de Dangers. It is, of course, Bergamo, Lavender, Basil from Universe 9. This is, I'm assuming, the pre-tournament, that is done to show Zeno the format of a martial arts tournament before the actual world tournament starts. I'm assuming that's what they're doing here, based off the fact that, in the back of Lavender's card, you can see Gohan blinded. That's something that occurred in that pre-tournament. Now, whether or not they will still fall into the universe survival arc, I'm not sure. I would say so, because this is basically like the pretext to that, and also you have characters like that DBS Gohan who just came out, who does have that tag because he not only participates in this tournament, but of course the Tournament of Power also. So I'm assuming they will all have a Z ability around the Universe 9, the Tournament of Power or Universe Survival arc, and then maybe potentially Powerful Opponent, but these guys aren't really inherently evil, and the Powerful Opponent tag is mostly bad guys, so they may not get that treatment. Outside of that, it's all possible they may have like secondary color buffs. I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I think, like I believe Goresh mentioned, they probably will have synergy that is somewhat comparable to the Universe 2 females. We saw them come out. They are also participants in the Universe Survival arc, and they have a Z ability that buffs a primary tag, be it females, and then secondary tag to Universe 2, or vice versa. It's been a while since I looked at them. So these guys will probably be similar. Z ability buffing, the Universe 9 with a secondary of Universe Survival arc, or vice versa. It could be primary, secondary. We don't really know yet, but that's the most predictable option. Now, beyond that, there's not too much to go off here because they're cramming 3 characters onto one page, which leaves limited room for actual information. But if you look on the right over here, above my head, we do have, and I guess it would help if I turned these off real quick, to check out the supporting text that backs up these characters. So I guess we'll start from right and go to left, like traditional manga. Basil, he is the red fox looking wolf character here. Uses superior attacking speed to unleash a series of strikes. It looks like he has some kind of card draw speed boost based off the wording here. When his green card is activated, it will significantly strengthen himself. His special move is the Shining Blaster, which is this little red attack that you see down here. Basil was the one who was all about kicking, somewhat similar to Vegito. You can see in the card art, he's got his arms crossed over his chest, and he's going to be focusing mostly with the feet attack. Based off of that, I would say out of any of the three, he's the one who's most likely to be a melee or strike arts based character. Being that he's mostly kicks, I would see that as the most likely case, but we don't have that information 100%, so we don't know which one is going to be what type, as far as I'm aware. Next up, we have Lavender, the yellow poison-based wolf, and they basically mention that right here. It is poisonous attack that gives the enemy a stat deterrent effect and a debuff effect that reduces the enemy's ability. His special move is the Venom Sniper. So we know from the actual episodes, he does have the poison attacks. He does blind Gohan. So I'm assuming he's going to be somewhat similar to like DKP or Omega Shenron, where when he attacks, he's going to inflict poison, maybe paralysis as well. Maybe they're going to be the way that they kind of extrapolate Gohan being blinded into the game, paralysis. That might make sense in a certain type of way. So I would expect him to be the debuffer, and it says here it's going to affect stats and also a condition, so we'll have to see exactly what, but I'm assuming it's going to be like he'll inflict enemy with a debuff that causes them to take more damage. He inflicts them with a debuff that reduces their stats or damage output potentially, and then of course poison, maybe paralysis as well. We don't have any other information about the special moves other than their names, so we don't really have anything to go on there. Lastly, we have the leader of the group, Bergamo, who's like the silver wolf, or kind of like bluish silver, reinforces himself every count and immediately after damage. It looks like the three brothers have an ultimate arts technique to pull off. Bergamo is the possessor of the ultimate arts, so he's the highlight of the team leader. Now, there's also some other information that wasn't in this little text post that specifies, I believe, that if all three of your characters are still alive, so the full team is still assembled, the ultimate arts will have some type of boosted damage or boosted effect. So we'll have to look forward to that. Again, also makes sense because they synergize so well as a team, like Rosie, Ribrianne, and Kakunsa. It would make a lot of sense for them to have a lot of synergy with one another. So I would totally see something like that coming into play. And then it kind of said that the longer the battle goes on, the more he'll get buffed. And when he takes damage, I would assume as well, because in the anime, you can see how he grows to like giant size by absorbing all of Goku's melee hits. So I would assume he'll be like the defensive type, and he'll get a whole bunch of boosts for taking hits, and of course the longer the battle goes on. So maybe he'll still have some pretty good offensive output as well. But again, it's hard to tell their typing. If you look at the little stat distributions on the page for all three characters, they look roughly identical. So maybe they all have like the same base stats-ish, and then their other passives and the rest of their kit will help determine, the different buffs and the way that this actually pans out. But on a fundamental level, they might be all kind of identical, but I would assume, one's going to be like support, one's going to be defense, one's going to be ranged or melee. I think that's how it's going to play out, but again, that's just a prediction. Bottom half of the page is just Dokkan, so they did like a 2-page half and half spread. Again, most of this page is Dokkan with Angel Frieza, and up here in the top, this is just giving a reference to Universe 9 and showing them off from the manga directly, and then just all the generic supplemental information, and a reminder about the Happy Weekend summon that goes on. It seems permanent now. Every weekend we have that, and then also the Enjoy Legends on the weekend. And the Choice Battle is currently back. But the Choice Battle I don't believe is permanent. They're just hopefully bringing it back more often. So, maybe not the hypest units of the whole bunch, but I do believe that they're going to build them to have pretty good synergy, which will make them an attractive team to potentially run, even if you're maybe not the biggest fan of Universe 9, because, who would be? But they're still neat. I like them a lot. It's cool that there's like anthropomorphic animals in Dragon Ball. It's something that's happened for a long time, being like the president of the world is like the dog man. It's, we see that all the time. Hippopotamuses walking around in West City and stuff like that. So it's always been around in Dragon Ball. The fact that they're from another universe, It's almost inconsequential because there are already animal people on Earth in Universe 7. So either way, still kind of neat. I'm assuming their synergy is going to be very good. It is going to be an expensive team to fully flesh out, though, because you have to remember with 3 characters coming out at the same time, you're going to have to pull all 3 of them reliably to get a lot of stars on them if you're going for like red stars, for example. It's a whole team coming out at once, essentially, and it's going to be kind of expensive. Outside of that, if you get one of each of them and they release these new missions for them, it's going to be about 6,000 chrono crystals beyond your summons, so 2,000 for each, to then buy their missions and get them to all roughly 6 stars. So that'll be an option if you get lucky enough to get them one time each and you're not a whale, so you're not just gonna continue summoning. Then the missions are actually pretty favorable. There's been a lot of talk online about how they're like paid to win, but the truth of the matter is if you get some initial luck, it's actually a lot more economical to do those missions and get guaranteed value on a unit that you really want, as opposed to continuing to risk luck on just summons, which might net you nothing. So if you're a super whale, you won't even need the missions, because you're just going to summon all the way through to 14 stars anyway, so the missions are not necessarily intended for the whales, you guys. They're for the dolphins, the more budget players, and the lucky free-to-play players who are good at saving enough crystals for the teams they want to prioritize. You got to keep that in mind as well. Moving past that, I would expect them to come out in about 2 to 3 weeks from now. Usually the banners drop coming off VJump scans 2 weeks later, but the fact that Zenkai Android 18 kind of rotated with the Goten and Trunks banner in terms of release schedule might affect that a little bit, and it might come more towards mid-October as opposed to early October. Again, we will keep you updated with all that as soon as we, the content creators, know more. I'm sure y'all will hear about it. So let us bring up the internet real quick. We are going to hop over to this little tier list thingy that's going on right here. I wonder if we can kind of like zoom in. Oh, zooming in just makes it more narrow. That's interesting. Well, it's pretty visible as is. So let's just kind of like size it up a little bit, see what we can do. So again, thanks to Slanak for creating these tier lists. I just kind of get on Facebook and I'm like, hey bro, make a tier list so that I can talk about something. And he does a pretty good job. A lot of people think they're fairly reliable. Of course, you'll always have other people that disagree, which is fine. Things that work for some don't work for everybody. And if you're a really skilled player, generally you can make things work when they're not necessarily an ideal situation. I'm not going to spend like a whole hour going through this, but I did want to show it off. I can potentially post it on Twitter also, so that you can have it as a resource there. But again, remember, this is just a meta snapshot. It's not necessarily saying that one character that's higher on the list is fundamentally better than another character. It's just what you're going to see in high-ranked PvP a lot, the core components for building teams, what's relevant right now, what's the most effective, what's less effective. So again, this is not saying that any of these characters are necessarily just straight up better than others, but you know, that may be true. But again, this is just a window into what's relevant in the game right now. So don't get angry at me if things are not placed where you think they should be. And I didn't even make the list. So moving forward, at the top of the tier list, we do have, of course, and everyone knows, the Zenkai Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. When he is your last character left alive, sometimes even when he's not, just when he has enough buffs on him, he just absolutely murders every other character in the game. He's mostly about just raw offensive power, because it doesn't feature any feints or paralyzes or anything really utility oriented. I mean, he does have a little bit of a cover change defensive swap in, but outside of that, he's just raw offensive power. I think pretty much everyone knows that by now. The Trunks is only up here to be a supporting character for the Gohan. The Trunks by himself is obviously not the highest tier character in the game, although he is pretty dang good, and he's usable on Vegeta Family and in other places. This placement is kind of just specifically for benching for this Gohan, assuming that you have him Zenkai'd and highly done up. If you don't, then obviously he's not going to be anywhere near as relevant as where he is on this list. The Elite Four, we have Zenkai 18, kind of actually similar to Gohan in terms of the fact that she's just an offensive powerhouse, but she does get card draw speed, which helps her combo a little bit better. She, as well, not too much of a utility-based character, so you're not going to be seeing any like crazy team plays out of her. She's just going to come in and kill stuff. Now, of course, she's yellow. She can kill pretty much any red character in the game without too many problems, except for some of the powerful Zenkai red units in the game. Everyone else, she shouldn't struggle with too much. She just has an absurd amount of damage support for herself. Vegito Blue really doesn't need any type of description or introductions whatsoever. He is, of course, in terms of the kit on paper, not Zenkai, he is, of course, the best unit in the game in terms of the structure of his kit. Majin Vegeta, coming up next, is actually an extremely good offensive unit, and he fills a niche in the Vegeta family quite nicely, helps bring that team back to make it hyper-relevant. Beerus, of course, is a very powerful Zenkai 7 unit. He is most dated out of all of the hyper-relevant units we're looking at on this list. However, because he's green and because of the overwhelming amount of utility his kit brings, like locking out main abilities, so transforming units can't transform, you can't summon ults, you can remove buffs, you can delete their entire hand. He's got supporting qualities as well. So Beerus is still holding on, I guess, to a spot here in the Elite Four, according to Slanak. I can definitely see it, but of course, at this point, you definitely want him Zenkai 7, fully boosted, and on an extremely powerful God Key team. The next category is all starter meta components, and then cooler for LOE, because he's extremely good. It's just LOE is kind of desperately in need of an update. They're still a competitive team. It's just been almost 6 months or more since they've had any type of reliable support for their tag. So Cooler's still here holding it together, but everybody else is going to be a core component of a team featuring possibly Gohan or a member of the Elite Four, or just something that's hyper relevant in the meta right now. Of course, you have Android 16 for androids to pair with this bad girl right here. DKP is the cornerstone of regeneration, and since his Zenkai exceptionally powerful character was stealing the Dragon Balls, doing lots of damage, green card, refreshing his hand, he is able to do some impressive work. Kefla, of course, pairs with Vegito Blue, the most toxic combination of characters in the game almost. Next up is the new Endurance 2.0 Perfect Cell. He is actually an extremely deadly unit. He is highly technical in the way that you use him and the way you want to play him, but his new passive is amazing. I can't wait until they do something with Metal Cooler in the same kind of way. But of course, he is really functional on androids or regeneration, probably more so androids, but amazing character. Rated even a little bit higher than the brand new Zenkai 7 Red Cell. That's just how amazingly good he is with that ability to die and then come back again and basically bring 4 characters to battle. Majin 21, not much has changed with her. I would say outside of Vegito Blue and of course Zenkai units, she's one of the best kitted units in the game. She also combines extremely well with the other 2 Zenkai androids that were just released, so she's holding on to a lot of value too. Of course, you got Zenkai Fat Boo for regen. We all know about his literal regeneration obnoxiousness with his heals, his card blocking, so he's an amazing unit still. Great counter for both Majin Vegeta and Vegito Blue. The ability to, again, lock out their primary damage source, red cards, and his healing, just both top-notch. Next up, you have the brand new Trunks, who's actually extremely good at dealing damage, very good on hybrids, of course, and Vegeta family, and his little 2-second lock that he gets every time he swaps in can be played for extremely deadly results. It really prevents things like Endurance 2.0 Cell or Vegito Blue from being 100% functional, and it can guarantee you on-target kills with high-powered hits, Rising Rush, blue cards, stuff like that. So actually an extremely valuable unit, and he's colored very well for the Vegeta family. Next up, we have LF Vegeta, also a green unit. Vegeta family is in a very good spot right now, and he counters, again, some hyper-powerful blue units very well. In his own right, still a very good character with a very good kit. The fact that he can do pretty much the similar thing as Trunks, but only once, like lock in with his ultimate arts technique to guarantee you kill the person you want to kill, and the card draw speed buffs that he gets, healing with green, still holding on to a lot of value. Again, good on Vegeta family and God Key, so multiple teams for him. The new transforming DBS Gohan that just came out is actually like a hidden gem of a character. I know probably not too many people went nuts on his banner summoning form because the banner itself wasn't insanely hype, However, his ability to lock red cards whenever you swap units and his damage output, the crazy little supporting utility things he can do, make him a very good character who probably will hold on to value because the Universe Survival team might be upcoming soon, and he fits reasonably well under that team with his tagging. Next up, the new Support Goten. Very good unit to combo with the most deadly unit in the game because they're on the same family and they directly support each other due to the fact they're on the same family and 2 different tags they share, Solid Family and Hybrids. Plus, he's built as a support. He's a great damage support. Gohan loves damage, so it works out really well. I think probably the worst part about him is his color because, you know, he gets smooshed by Gohan in this meta, being yellow versus red. But, you know, it is dangerous to be yellow in the meta right now, but Goten pulls it off quite nicely. Omega Shenron, great cornerstone for regeneration. It combines extremely well with DKP because of the way that DKP's damage works when an enemy is poisoned. And Omega Shenron helps you poison enemies a lot faster. It's just amazing synergy. Next up, one of the new Gokus that we got at the tail end of the 2nd anniversary. Both of them are actually extremely good, but I guess this one takes the edge out a little bit due to him combining with Son Family a little bit better, I guess. But I don't know, I think this one fits in there just as nicely. But, I mean, this isn't, I don't know how much of, like, you could say that this is in order, because these are just starter meta components for a bunch of different teams. So the fact they're on the same line, I don't know. It's not saying, again, that one's necessarily better than the other one. These are all your core characters that do well on these teams. So don't think of it like this one's actually rated that much higher than the other one. You have the Fusion Zamasu next. Amazing damage unit for God Key or Future, which are, again, Future is an extremely deadly team right now, and he's got cover change against strikes also. So it combines really well with Vegito and the Rage Trunks to make a really obnoxious team to fight against. New Zenkai 7 Red Cell does a lot of damage, even more so against Saiyans, and he doesn't have to worry about defensive cover swap in. So it's a really powerful Zenkai for him. The only problem with him is he doesn't have any ways of like restoring a whole lot of ki, and you do have to kind of swap him around a lot to maximize his debuffs. But again, he's an extremely effective character. Goes great on a red-red-green setup with the other Red Cell and Zenkai 16. So there's that as well. 2 Zenkais and 2 other characters in one. Makes for a very powerful team. We kind of briefly mentioned Cooler at the start of this tier, but he's holding on to his relevance because he's a very powerful, very potent Zenkai 7 unit, but LOE does kind of need an update here pretty soon. Zenkai 7 Gohan works great with Zenkai 7 Gohan. Shallot is an amazing unit. He's obviously the main character of the game, so at this point and moving forward, I'm assuming he's going to stay pretty relevant. The developers have been showing him a lot of love, and his new green card, his new God transformation are both very effective. God Key is a great team, and his use on just any Saiyan's team make him a very effective character. Obviously, he's a hero unit, best in class, and his stats when he gets to like 14 stars, when you see that during LBR mode, are actually pretty outrageous. So I expect nothing but good things from Shallot moving forward. You have the Zenkai 7 Blue Trunks, who teams extremely well on Vegeta Family or with the Zenkai 7 Gohan and the Zenkai 7 Gohan. And the Zenkai 7 Trunks. Makes for a pretty powerful team. The hybrids have 4 potent Zenkai units to draw on their meta. The other Goku, again, both of these Gokus that came out were exceptionally good. And the fact that he can queue up endurance on command with green card if you have below 50% health, pretty useful also. Actually, we have another new Goku right out. This one's a damage god too. This one's like a version of the blue transforming movies Vegeta. He's just a strike damage god. All the 3 of these Gokus are really good. It makes me really sad because I don't have any of them. I didn't get any one of those 3 Gokus from their banner. We have the new purple Vegeta. He's actually really good for Vegeta Family. Okay on God Key, but Fusion Zamasu is probably better, just mainly for Vegeta Family. He's a good point unit and a good buffer for that team. Zenkai 7 Kid Goku is an extremely good Zenkai 7 unit. I feel like he's going to start to lose a little bit of relevance on Saiyans or Solid Family because his primary designation is Legends Road and Dragon Ball Saga. However, He still has endurance, he still does lots of damage, he's still an extremely functional character. It's just increasingly more dangerous out there these days because you have all these powerful units, especially Gohan, that now cancel endurance and just completely destroy yellow units. So things aren't as good for this Goku as when he initially came out, but again, he's still an extremely potent top tier unit. Purple transforming Trunks just has good relevance now that Vegeta family has been boosted up. Baby, I would assume he's still in starter meta for like regeneration, for making a really obnoxious Zenkai filled regeneration team. Probably not as effective on GT. I don't even think GT is really like a top meta team right now at the moment. They're still competitive, just definitely not top meta. Rage Trunks is just a damage sponge, a buff deleter, and a healer. He's like, he started to do a lot of damage later in the fight also, but yeah, you basically bring him on your future teams. You probably value other units for Vegeta family a little bit more. He doesn't work quite as well there, but he is very impressive on your future teams. This red Vegito, Slenak told me that this red Vegito is only here to be a bench for fusions, to get that double defense buff and the buff for all the other Super Vegitos and Vegitos on the team. So you're not actually using him, you're not bringing him to battle. He is just there for his overwhelmingly useful bench support. Of course, everyone that's been a long time player have him at 14 stars for his full Z ability buff. And it's again pretty good for your Vegito and defensive fusion nature teams. Alright, filler meta characters and non-meta starters. So these are characters that are all effective, they're all able to be used. The more skilled of a player you are, the better you will be able to perform with these characters, meaning they're all still usable in battle, they're all still fill options for top meta teams if you're missing someone else. They're just not the cream of the crop anymore at this point in time. Again, that could very well change as soon as something gets a Zenkai, new characters come out, things get flip-flopped all the time. I'm going to spend a lot less time on these characters than the ones below. Just kind of going to roll through this. So Goten just combines really well, of course, with Zenkai Gohan. That's changed a lot. His value's gone up a lot since the Zenkai came out for that Gohan, because before he was doo-doo, but you're mainly bringing him with that Zenkai Gohan there. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks next. He's a good character. He's a fill and still a kind of a good starter unit for fusions if you A, need red, or B, if you're not running Vegito and Kefla, or Vegito and purple Vegito and Kefla, or some combination of just mostly Vegitos and Kefla, then he is an option for your fusions team still. Gohan is optional for hybrids or future, but probably not your go-to unit really for either team at this point. LF Namek Goku is waiting for his Zenkai, and he'll probably destroy the meta again. He's usable on Son family, but Son family is kind of more like hybrids and just the newer Goku based at this point in time. This guy's a little bit dated, and his passive play style is not nearly as effective as what it used to be. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta is a usable on Vegeta family or GT. Again, GT is not like hyper meta right now, but he does fit in nicely on either one of those teams. Rose is good for Future or God Key, but again, the meta Future team would be like Vegito Blue, and then you have the Rage Trunks and the Fusion Zamasu. So Rose is not as frequently seen like actually in battle these days. Still a great bench for that team though. Next up, we have both Super Vegitos. Of course, they are a great third pick for your fusions teams, but the Kefla Vegito Blue combo is your meta, your core build for that team. And then whoever else you bring between Gotenks, Vegito, really just depends on what color you may need. The Zenkai 7 Purple Vegeta is just kind of like a bench buffer. I mean, plenty of Saiyans like blast damage this late in the game, but it's not super effective to actually bring him. Green Golden Frieza is an effective option for dealing with all the powerful blue units in the game. And then LOE's still, again, a competitive team. Just he could use a Zenkai. He'd be, like, murderously good. But I don't think they're ready to Zenkai any of the Year 1 anniversary units just yet. Red Transforming Trunks is an option for Vegeta family. I suppose hybrids, but you have much better red options for hybrids with both of the red Zenkai hybrids. Super Saiyan 4 Green Goku does tons of damage, has a great heal. Just GT is not hyper relevant right now, and you have better options for green units on Son family. Bootanks is next. He's just not a main starter for Regen at the moment. LF, Frieza, and Transforming Purple Cooler, both, again, they're starter characters. Either one of them are great for your LOE front line, but LOE needs a little bit of an update. Red Kakarot Goku. Again, there's newer, better red Gokus further up, so you will not really need to run him if you were lucky with your summoning. So next up, you got Turles. Movies just isn't hyper relevant in the meta right now. That's why he's kind of down here. He's a great starting character for a team that's just not the most competitive at the moment. Same thing for Bojack. His defenses are quite poor. He dies extremely fast in this meta. LF Piccolo was kind of replaced by Zenkai DKP because he's much better for regeneration as a yellow unit with his synergy with Omega Shenron. However, if you are not able to Zenkai your DKP, then you would fill with this Piccolo right here, or potentially the yellow Perfect Cell, even if you don't have this Piccolo. Broly Chilai, again, suffering from the fact that movies are not hyper relevant right now. Zenkai Blue Broly is a movies unit primarily, so same issue as this Blue Broly. Purple Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Again, you don't really see him on Son Family as a starting unit very often. You can fill with him, and again, GT, not hyper relevant at the moment. LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Same situation as the Super Saiyan 4 one I just described. There's better metas, better builds you can run, but he is an option. I mean, he needs a Zenkai too, really bad. But probably Goten would be next, I would assume, maybe. He definitely needs one, probably worse. Oh god, then the hybrids team would be just, oh, insane. Insane, utter insanity at that point with 5 Zenkai units. Feetku, he is like a piece of paper with an AK-47. You killed so fast. You have to be very careful when using him because he's got like no defenses whatsoever, but he is an amazing support unit. Again, just not a starting top choice for your Son Family build. Next up, Transforming Blue Vegeta as a fill option for Vegeta Family or movies. It's just, again, you probably have better choices than him this late in the game. The free-to-play 21 works great with Majin 21, and the Red 18 is still a competitive team, but Androids has moved more in the Zenkai direction, so you will only be filling with her. You don't really want to start with her. Zenkai Red Goku, been around for a while, was never super effective, but he is an option. Zenkai Black makes for some fun builds where you boost the crap out of the yellow Perfect Cell by bringing Zenkai, other DKP, just Zenkai DKP and Zenkai Black, and you can double buff the yellow Perfect Cell. So there's some interesting things you can do with him, but he's mostly a fill character. All 3 of these units are just a little bit dated. They've been replaced by better options with the 2-year 1 Super Saiyan God Super Saiyans, and then the Freeze-Ku, who will immobilize with his green card. Kid Buu, again, Omega Shenron is way better for regeneration at the moment with his DKP synergy. Yellow movies, Gohan, the yellow Goten's newer is much better, and movies not hyper relevant right now. Red Bardock, not really needed anywhere other than Bardock Squad, which is not hyper competitive at the moment. Green Gogeta, replaced by Kefla. Blue Gogeta is not really needed on the team because he's more blast related and the team is more strike related and Vegito related. So he's just kind of good still, but not really meta for the team. So fill character. Red Frieza fills great on LOE when you need a red unit because it's only him or Metal Cooler. Metal Cooler needs a Zenkai. The green First Form Cell. Androids are future, but you don't see him too often. Yellow FPF Frieza, same thing as red. He needs a Zenkai and LOE, great fill for that team. Just not something you see very often these days. Red Janemba, a little bit worse than Kid Buu it seems, unless you're squaring up against a movies unit, which is not something that happens too often. Just, again, Omega Shenron better. Ultimate Gohan has just aged kind of poorly, still usable, but you have many better green options for hybrids, like the new Trunks. It's the same thing with this yellow Gohan here. You have better options for hybrids or future. Same thing with the Yellow Son Family Goku. And you could put this God Vegeta that transforms on Vegeta Family, but he doesn't work as well on God Ki. So he's a little bit funkier in terms of placing him, but he's still a usable fill character. These characters are still somewhat usable. Yellow Shenron, Sin Shenron, only on GT, which is not hyper relevant at the moment. He doesn't fit on Regen like this Omega Shenron does. Next up, we have Yellow Hit. Always been an amazing character, but really only functioned on yellow, yellow, blue, so struggles for team placement. Green Raditz has got a lot of power stacked early in the fight, but drops off even faster and harder than the green Golden Frieza does. Red 18 really only specifically works with blue 21 and purple 21, which again is taking a backseat to Zenkai androids. Purple 17, just better options for androids, He's good for God Ki and General Saiyans, the yellow Kaioken Goku here, but just kind of aged out a little bit. Perfect Cell Yellow has been kind of replaced on androids by Zenkai 18 and replaced on Regen by Zenkai DKP or LF Piccolo. Aged out of androids, but still is a somewhat usable option there. Super 17, somewhat usable for his defenses and his all-team paralyzed. Mai is still usable if you're a really good player for her immense supporting capabilities, but her damage output is like non-existent these days. And Red Pycon is somewhat usable, but not very. All the rest of these characters we're not going to spend too much time on at all. We're going to wrap the video up. They are all not very good in this meta right now. However, you still might end up using some of them as bench units. You still might have a lot of success using them in PvE. It's just for PvP right now. They are either desperately in need of a Zenkai or just not helping out any relevant teams. Again, some of them are very good bench units, like the yellow Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It's like a mandatory health buffer for your fusions team. So some of these are still great bench units. However, you will not see them in play. You don't want to bring them to the fight. Unless you're just a really skilled player who's trying to show off or make a showcase of old characters or something like that. Otherwise, these are going to be hurting your chances of winning in most cases. Like Blue Spirit Bomb Goku, which is terrible. The old Purple Janemba, Red Hercule. Like, we really don't even need to go over why most of these characters aren't very good. This Red Vegeta, even though he got an update, has been replaced again by better units. So you can look through that, pause the video, see which characters are on trash that you probably shouldn't be using. Again, though, remember, some of them can still be good bench, and any one of these characters can receive a Zenkai and then immediately shoot back up towards the top of the list. So don't think that they are crap, except for maybe right now. They could all have a comeback. They likely all will have a comeback because of Zenkai. So with that being said, kind of scrolled through the list again, but that's everything. Again, huge shout out to Slanak for putting this together for me upon request. And yeah, we can do this again next week, 2 weeks. Usually I like to wait a little bit for a couple of new things to come out before we reclassify everything. But honestly, it's up to Slanak and how often he feels like putting these out. With that being said, we're going to wrap up the video here. I hope you enjoyed the teaser on the VJump scan with Lavender, Bergamo, and Basil, and everything we know about them so far. And I hope you enjoyed the meta snapshot. Of course, let me know what your thoughts are on both the VJump and the meta snapshot are down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And are you hyped for these new characters? Are you not hyped? You still even playing Legends and you hyped for it at all? Or are you kind of on the more negative bandwagon? I like to know everything that's on y'all's minds. So again, let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a thumbs up on it. Help support it and get it to more people out there, YouTube algorithms and whatnot. I appreciate you for supporting everything I put out. If you're still around, you still hear this message here. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, turning on all notifications so that I can see you again next time I have something to upload. I will see you again real soon. Peace out. Have a great day.